Phew. The other day was a whirlwind of transportation, logistics, uh, coordinating with people, trying to get to the right place at the right time, and all of that. And having a conversation with one of my friends, it reminded me of the fears we have when we first start to travel, or when we first start to travel either by ourselves or with someone that's not like our parents or someone or a group leader or something like that. Because there's so much that can go into just one day of moving from place A to place B. And even if it's not a different country, even if it's just another town in a different state, or a city three hours away from like one you live in, it takes coordination, it takes logistics, and how are we going to get there, when are we going to get there, what are we going to do, where are we going to eat, where are we going to stay, all those questions. And I feel like the biggest fear comes in when the what ifs start happening. What if I miss the boat? What if I miss the train? What if I miss the bus? What if I miss the taxi? What if I miss the plane? It's like you just spent $1,000 on a flight flying all the way to Asia, and you're in a taxi stuck in traffic trying to get to the airport, and you're worried like you might miss your flight. And I think sometimes these fears can oftentimes cripple us into just not going and staying in the same place. I mean, even just traveling from Bali to Nusa Lembongan, which is where we're at, it took a taxi, a boat, another taxi, coordinating with the villa for check-in, transferring luggage, and then getting to the dive shop, getting in the pool. For some people had a refresher course and discover scuba course, so there were a lot of moving parts. And sometimes that fear comes in, like, what if I miss the boat? Because then everything stacked after that is gonna get pushed or canceled or what have you. And I get it, because sometimes you've paid for, say, a dive course, and you're not going to get there that day. So then it's like, am I going to have to pay a cancellation fee? Am I not going to be able to do the course? There's all sorts of questions and fears, and people end up just not going. Like, it's easier to just stay home and be like, maybe next week, maybe next month, maybe next year, and then oftentimes just not do it at all, because it's a lot. It's a lot to coordinate and think about logistics. And my friend and I were talking about this because she has a young person in her life who wants to travel, and their biggest fear was, like, what if I miss the train? And the answer is, there's always a solution, especially in countries where like trains are a main mode of transportation. There's going to be another one right behind it, and another one right behind it, and another one right behind it. I once was in Thailand, and like I would always do the night train to the ferry to the island of Koh Tao. Well, one time I got in, I wanted to catch the night train that night, and I went to the station to book a ticket, and they were fully booked, which was like, had never happened to me before. They were never fully booked. So it was like, I could wait one more day, or I could book a bus ticket. And I think I ended up booking a bus ticket and made it down there, like same time, everything, it all worked out. It was a little, it was different because I wasn't able to like lay down and sleep like I can on the train, but I made it, there was a solution. And so many times in my travels, There's been times like that where, yes, I've missed a ferry. I've missed a boat. Well, a ferry, a boat. Same, but different. Or the train's running late, or the bus is running late, or you can't get a hold of the taxi driver. And there's always a solution. And this is where I love about travel, is it's challenging. It forces you to use your problem solving skills. You have to suddenly think, okay, and here's the deal too, is like, I think so many people stress out in advance about all these what ifs that it's like they're too stressed to even enjoy the trip. So it's like, don't plan for all the what ifs. It's like, plan for the ferry and the taxi and the whatever. And then once you're in the situation, and let's just pretend one of those what ifs actually happens, this is where you get to use your problem solving skills and find a solution. It's like, okay, and make it fun. It's like, oh, well, we can either stay here an extra night and catch tomorrow's ferry, or we can take a taxi to the next, town over that has a ferry and catch that ferry, or we can, not go to that place and actually get a train and go to this whole other place. And suddenly your trip is like spontaneous and exciting, and you're using your brain, and your brain is like, yes, I get to problem solve. I get to use all these skills that I learned in school. And it can be challenging because you're oftentimes using a different currency. So suddenly it's like, well, the train's not available, so we have to take a taxi, but it costs this much Indonesian rupiah. And so you're like trying to, do the math in your head. Or, if you have a phone, you can download apps like XE. I can't remember, Currency Exchange, I think is the app. And you literally can just type in what the rupiah is, and it'll tell you how much that is in US or Canadian or Venezuelan or whatever currency you're used to. And it's like, oh, it's actually cheaper to take a taxi. You find out these like little surprises, or you end up taking the taxi instead of the train, and suddenly you meet someone who's like, did you know about this temple that's along the way? We can stop there. And I've met many travelers who kind of grumble. They're like, oh, I don't want to go to the temple. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do this. And sometimes those are the best memories I've made, is saying yes. Like, I haven't heard about that temple. Yeah, let's go there. And then suddenly you see this beautiful temple that like no one ever goes to because nobody knows about it, because they're all taking the train instead of taking the taxi. And oftentimes, yes, you end up paying more, because let's say you paid for the train ticket and suddenly you missed it and there's not another train till tomorrow, but you want to get there tonight, so you take a taxi, or there's all sorts of solutions. But yeah, you might have lost out on that train ticket fare and had to pay for a taxi. And you know what? At the end of the day, I always think of it like this. Am I going to miss that $50, or am I going to miss that $5 in a year? Am I going to think about that $5, or am I going to think about the cool experience I just had taking a different mode of transportation, or having a spontaneous side adventure, or meeting new people? It's like, I'm not going to think about that money. I'm going to think about the experience I just had. And those are some of the best stories that will come out of your travels. And it's so sad, because I feel like we want everything to be perfect. We want everything to go smooth. We want it to be easy. And that's just like travel. That's not how life is. Life isn't always smooth and goes perfect to plan and easy. It's like you have all these hills and mountains to climb, and then oceans to swim, and rivers, and you make the best of it. You make the best of every situation. And that's another thing too, is choosing your travel partners. You will learn really quick who's fun to travel with and who is not fun to travel with when situations like this come up. When something's canceled or when something doesn't work out the way it's supposed to, there's the people who can pivot and have a laugh. They might grumble for a minute and then be like, well, I guess we're doing this instead. And they can handle the pivot and have a laugh, have a joke, have a Snickers bar, because probably they're just low on sugar, and move on with their life, move on with their day. And the people who cannot get over it and bitch about it for the rest of the trip, not my people. No offense, but not my people. Because shit happens. Shit happens during travel that you can't control. You can't control it. And you have to be able to pivot, and you have to be able to find another way, find another solution, and have a laugh about it, and enjoy the ride, enjoy the experience. And the people who just cannot get over it, it's like, ugh. It's almost like just a repellent. It's like, I don't even want to be in the same room as you, because all I'm going to hear about is how we missed the train and whose fault it is, and if we would have just done this sooner, if we would have just packed lighter, if we would have just, all the what ifs, or if you shoulda, coulda, wouldas. And it's like, oh my God, it happened. We're in the taxi. Move on. Can we please move on from the past? And it really tells you a lot about people's personalities too, because if they can't get over missing a train and ending up having to book a taxi or whatever you come up with as the solution, if they can't handle that, think about dating. If they can't handle that, think about dating that person when the big decisions don't go according to plan. Travel tells you a lot about people, and situations like this, traveling from one place to another, and like I said, it can be locally, it can be from one town to the next. Internationally is a little more challenging because you're dealing with different currencies, different languages, and it teaches you a lot about yourself, especially how you personally handle situations, and how other people handle situations, and how it carries over into their daily life or my daily life. I am such a different person from 20 years ago and my first travel to now, because I've had so many times where I've had to change course, change plans because of weather, because of somebody not flying in on time, somebody needs to go to the clinic, plans change, things change. And sometimes it's I don't even like to assign blame. Sometimes it's just a series of unfortunate events that led up to the thing not happening, or the timing just being off, and then you don't get to see the thing or do the thing that you've been planning to do. And yeah, you just make other plans, you just do other things, you drink a coconut by the ocean and just be thankful that you're by the ocean. Or if you're not at the ocean yet, you're sitting in a I don't know, pub in the middle of Bangkok and having a coconut in the pub in the middle of Bangkok. It's really interesting how the fear and the what ifs can completely derail not only our travels, but us as people within our lives. So yeah, think about that. Next time you're booking something or going somewhere, really just have the, I don't want to say expectation, but just have the wherewithal to know, like, this might not go exactly as we planned it, and that's okay, because those, again, are some of the most incredible experiences you'll have. So think about it. I do offer travel consultations if you want to go into my Stan store. I'll put the link below. And yeah, if you are having one of those moments where you are doing the what ifs over and over again and haven't booked the ticket, let's have a chat, and we can get you on that flight and get you where you're going. So thanks for joining. That's my story, and I'll see you